Hi there, and welcome to my video with good lighting for once. I've had some fun misadventures with telling people to stop giving me advice lately. So, I'm on this journey of telling the truth. I don't always do it. I do lie a lot. It's usually little white lies, but sometimes it's bigger lies, and it hurts. But one way that I tell the truth is I tell people how I feel when they ask me how I'm doing. And at first you think, oh, no, 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 you don't want to do that. No, no, no. But and then you realize, well, if I don't, then I'm lying. And that hurts. So I tell the truth, not all the time, but a lot of the time when someone comes and says, hey, how are you doing? I'll be like, oh, not great, or so. Or, I don't know. I don't feel amazing. Sometimes I just say all right and I get punished. Like, all right? Just all right? Yeah. Yes, just all right. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to be peachy keen, happy, stars and rainbows all the time? Hi, everyone. How you doing? You doing good? I'm good. Everyone's good. Everyone's so happy. That's frightening. Like, no, no. If I'm actually happy, then I'll probably be smiling, and you'll probably see it, and you probably don't have to ask. Think about that. Anyway, so a lot of the time, people ask me how I'm doing, and I say, not that great. And one thing that I find is I get a lot of freaking advice. Oh, you're not doing well? Well, let me tell you. Sit down and let me tell you some stuff because I got some news for you, buddy. I've got some information for you. I've got some life advice for you, sonny boy. And after a while, it gets pretty aggravating, annoying, and I got to call them out on it. And I got to say, did I ask you for your advice? One time I was in a homeless shelter, and there's this guy that I liked, that I wanted to get to know more. The first time he sits down and talks to me and actually, interacts with me, he's just giving me a whole bunch of advice. Advice. For a long time, and he doesn't shut up. Here I am hoping to talk to this guy and get to know him, and all he has is just a bunch of advice. And he's like, Thea, I've been thinking about your situation. I heard some things you've said, and I want to tell you, this is how things are, and you just get through this shelter. You go, you get a degree, you get yourself educated, and don't worry about this stuff, and don't worry about this stuff, and just keep going. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, when's this guy gonna be freaking done? I didn't ask him for what his thoughts were, and he just has 1,000 things to tell me right now. I'm like, oh my God. At some point, I know I'm gonna have to tell him, listen, man, I don't think any of what you said is a good idea, really. First of all, he doesn't really know me that well. He just has some ideas, and he's going off of his whims, and he's decided to descend from his cloud to tell me a whole bunch of stuff, and with no like pretense, with no, hey, I'd like to get to know you and see if is there anything I could do to help you, or no, it's just a lecture. So at some point, I'm like listening to him talk, and I'm like, I know I'm gonna have to tell him, what's up with this? What's up with what you're doing here? And that might not go over well. I mean, we all know that people being told what they don't want to hear is often conflict. I'm not going to say it causes a conflict, but often a conflict can arise because of their choice. But anyway, so at the end of his lecture, he says to me, what did you think about what I said? And I said, well, you know what? I really actually think that that's bad advice. And this is after him lecturing me for like 2 or 3 minutes straight, and or longer. And he gets so mad, he stands up and he leaves. And I never hear from him again. He never talks to me again. Actually, he left the homeless shelter soon after. Anyway, I'll never forget that. Like, I wanted to get to know him, and I could have sweet talked to him. I could have babied him. I could have said, "Wow, thank you so much. First of all, I'm going to take your advice. Second of all, you're so amazing for coming up to me and telling me all of the amazing thoughts that you have about me. And third of all, is there ever really a third of all? For me, it's always like two of alls. Anyway, like I could have babied him. I could have answered his emotional addictions. I could have said, you're amazing. Oh my God, thank you so much. You're so, oh my God, you're amazing. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. And I guess you could say I lost the potential of having a friend, but that's not true. There's always a chance that he could say, oh, maybe I was kind of, just out of place doing what I did. So in that case, I didn't see him ever again, but maybe, I don't know, there's always a spirit world. But yeah, and then I guess I'll give you one other example. Like, I was recently at work and I'm in a class setting, and we're doing these drills, and it's a very high stress situation. And it's funny, everybody's interacting and joking and, getting together and enjoying each other, and yeah, just joking with each other, I guess. And meanwhile, I know we're going to go into this extremely stressful situation, and I'm kind of preparing myself for it, pumping myself up a bit, but also knowing that I have a lot of fear, because if I don't make it through the assignment, then I could lose my job, and that's one thing that I'm afraid of. Yeah, one result I'm afraid of. So I'm kind of noticing that I have a lot of fear and trying to feel it, and people are starting to congregate around me, and they're like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, not great." And are you nervous? And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a little nervous," and or just plain, I am nervous, and they'll be like, "Oh, don't be nervous. It's all right. No, it's okay." And that's something I got a few times in the past few days, and in general in life. How often have you heard someone say that? Like, don't be nervous. Like, there's a light switch, turn off. Yeah, are my emotions light switches? Can I just turn one off? Can I turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off? Well, that's what we call a facade, ladies and gentlemen. That is the textbook definition of a facade. When you're turning on something, when you're pretending to be something, all of a sudden. Now, if you haven't seen your best friend for years, and you see them and you're like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy to see you." Like, that might be a pretty instant change from a sour mood or something. But in general, you can't just, turn off and turn on your emotions. So, yeah, it's funny. This was like 2 days ago that this happened, and before the drill began, and it happened once, twice, and then the third time I was like, I have to say something. And it's funny because the first time someone asked me how I was doing, I said, I'm a little scared, and they're like, oh, don't be scared. Here's what you do, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. And then the second time, someone asked me how you doing, and I said, well, not great. And they're like, oh, don't feel bad. Here's what you do, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. And then the third time, same situation, but it was with more people. And I'm like, well, ain't this something? Like, I didn't say something the first time. I didn't say something the second time. And now here's the third time, and like the multiplier effect went into effect, and now not only do I have to tell one person, I have to tell like a whole crowd of people. So I'm like, okay, well, here we go. Let's do it. And yeah, someone came to me and was like, "Yeah, how are you doing?" I'm like, "Not great." And then they start telling me here's what you do. And then the second person starts telling me, well, here's what you do. And I'm like, listen, guys, listen. Did I ask any one of you mofos what your thoughts were? Did I ask for your advice? I didn't say mofos, but like, I might as well have said it. But no, I honestly was not upset. I was kind of in a humorous mood because I was noticing how the multiplier effect happens. And what I mean by the multiplier effect, to just go on a tangent, is like if you don't deal with something the first time or the second time or the third time, it's going to multiply and it's going to get bigger. So just be ready for that. I mean, it's one of God's laws. God's trying to help us to deal with the real issues that we have, and we're stubborn and obstinate, and we want to try to skirt around a little bit, but you can't do that. And if you try to do that, well, watch as the multiplier effect comes into place, whether it's an illness intensifying or accidental, quote unquote, situations coming into your life, and the effects of those intensifying, what have you. But I was just kind of admiring God's law, kicking into place so quickly at that point. And so I wasn't in a bad mood, and I said, not in an angry way, why are you guys giving me advice? Did I ask for your advice? And they were all kind of stunned. What? I'm trying to be nice here. I'm trying to help, like I could see on their faces, like, I didn't expect someone to tell me off. I'm trying to help. And what they don't know is that they're not helping, and that's not, you know, I don't need to be mean about it. They just don't know. They don't know about emotional processing. They're telling me stuff about how to avoid my emotions, and I'm trying to get into my emotions. And I think part of what was also happening is that they were, while they're joking around, they're pretending, they're trying to like do things to get away from their fear and their nervousness. And I'm the one guy that's not doing that. And it's like you have to, you know, punch the gopher that comes out of the thing, out of the, that game. Gopher pops out, punch it down. Another gopher pops out, punch it down. So anyone in the group that is not following directions, in that case, I was the one guy trying to feel my emotions while everyone else was trying to not feel their emotions. So you gotta deal with that one anomaly. I was the anomaly. So, yeah, I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So many things I want to. Oh, one thing I thought of saying is like, and I thought of it. I thought of it this morning. If a situation like that arises again, like someone told me the next day, like, Theo, I think you make everybody nervous. And I'm like, really? And and he immediately pulled back from that. And he's like, no, I'm just joking. But I was like, are you joking? And I wondered about that, and I wonder how much that's true, because I'm trying to follow what I've been told in the divine truth teachings, which is that when you feel when you experience an emotion, or when you notice an emotion come up, feel it. Especially if it's fear, because we're not supposed to have fear emotions. We're not supposed to be driven by our fears. Fear is, in a sense, the enemy. It's ultimately an emotion of sin. It's a falsehood. It's an untruth, and we have to not avoid it, but we have to go right into it. And it's not typically what human beings do. It's not what we're taught to do on this earth as the earth is now. But hey, let's do something different, shall we? So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And yeah. And I've heard AJ say that like everyone has a lot of fear and terror inside of themselves. And so I'm asking myself, if this guy thinks that I'm making other people nervous, is that true? I'm thinking, well, another possibility is that everybody is nervous, everybody has fear, but they just don't want to deal with it. And they'll do whatever they can. They'll talk endlessly, they'll make jokes, they'll play games, do all kinds of stuff just to avoid how bad they feel. And so I think that's what was going on. While everyone was joking around, I'm at that moment, and I'm not going on my high horse. Honest to goodness, I didn't feel good trying to go into my emotions. I didn't feel good in that moment, in that group. I didn't feel comfortable. So it's not like I'm, trying to be high and mighty over everybody. Like, it was not an enjoyable, pleasant experience. And then to be told on top of all that, hey, maybe stop doing that, that was hard. So, and that's basically what they're doing by giving me advice. But yeah, I hope this makes sense to people. I know that I can have a tendency to run on a lot, and I don't know who's listening, and I can't see your face, and that's I've been thinking about, doing like another seminar at some point in grants. I don't know if anyone's going to care, but when I've done seminars in the past, when I've only really done one or two where that people have come to, but it is enjoyable to be there with people and to interact with them and to see their reaction, because I can go off that reaction and I can have an honest exchange. But it's harder on YouTube in a sense, and I don't know if you're getting what I'm putting down. Anyway, but what I thought, I guess the point of what I was saying just there was like, I thought if a situation like that happens again, I can tell someone, well, listen, the difference between you and me is that I have fear and I know that, and I want to deal with it. You pretend you don't have fear. And again, I would say that without malice, I think. I'll tell you another thing that happened. In amongst all these people giving me advice, I was dealing with my own sins of giving advice when someone doesn't ask for it. There were so many moments where I'm like, I want to tell someone this. I want to tell someone about the Divine Truth Teachings. I want to tell someone about this. And I'm like, there's no way in. There's no way in. No one came to me. Nobody asked me. Nobody is even talking to me. And what happened? My law of attraction events were I would start saying something and people would just talk over me, interrupt me, and that to me is a pretty good indication that they don't want to hear what I have to say. You start talking to somebody and they start interrupting you, and then maybe there's another opportunity to say something, and then you start talking. Oh, they interrupt you. So it's like if that keeps happening, you know, does this person want to listen to you? Probably not. And you know, there's no need to be angry about that, but it's just what it is. Like, you can go off and feel your emotions about, oh, nobody cares what I think, you know. And for someone that has an addiction with that, which I do have something of an addiction with wanting other people to hear what I have to say and what I think. That's a great thing for me to do, for instance. So that's what I was dealing with too. In amongst all this, people giving me advice, I'm dealing with my own addiction of wanting to give advice when that advice is not desired by the opposite party. So that was really interesting too. Very fascinating. Like, I'm just like getting all these lessons all at once, and it's one reason why I appreciate this job right now. Although it's a very challenging job. Um, so if I could bring this home, yeah, I was thinking like that might happen again, where someone tells me, you know, stop making everyone afraid, and I might have to say, well, listen, I'm not making other people afraid. I'm just trying to deal with my own fear. And maybe you're seeing that, and maybe you're feeling some kind of way and some kind of reaction to that. And that's the reaction you're having. And I'm going to honor that, and I ask that you honor what I'm dealing with. So, yeah, at one point I admitted that I had to cry. After the drill was over, it was a very intense drill. I, 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 I went into the next room with the people where that also finished the drills, and I knew that I had to deal with some emotion, and I knew I had to get away from everyone else, and there was a place where I could do that, a space where I could go a little further away and cry, and I just told him flat out. I've been Another thing that's happening in my life is as I'm more confident with the process of processing my emotions, I'm more confident just telling people, yeah, this is something that I do. This is normal for me. This is what I do. I process my emotions. And one of the things I do is I cry. Sometimes I feel that I have to breathe because I have to deal with some fear that I'm having. Sometimes I'm going to go off and deal with my anger, and I'll look kind of scary and frightening when I do that. But yeah, I told, after talking to these people in the next room after the drill was over, I said, okay, now I'm going to go away over there and I'm going to cry. I just told them flat out. I said, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to cry because I need to cry right now. And they're like, what? But I went and did it. I'm not asking for their permission. It's my life. I can do what I want. I can go where I want, you know, within limits. But yeah, so I went and I cried. And afterward, they were worried about me, and they're like, "Oh, what were you doing? What's wrong?" And at one point, they actually yelled towards me, and they're like, "Theo, where are you? Theo, come back!" And I'm like, "I'm just processing a little bit." And they're like, "Shake it off." More advice I didn't ask for. But that's probably what they try to do. They shake it off. Well, that's not going to be what I'm going to do. And if at some point, you know, everyone hates the fact that I'm processing my emotions at work when I have some free time and they decide to let me go, that's fine. I'd rather live a life where I process my emotions and, you know, try this path before. I want to give this path, I want to give the teachings that I've been told a decent shot before giving up. So, but yeah, that might be what it comes down to. Everyone at this job is so locked up. They're so locked up with their stuff. And I know this is like story time. I wanted this to be a short, but here I am talking for 23 minutes. I'm sorry, but you must be interested because you're listening. But another story. I wanted to start telling another lady about how emotions and the soul and who they are and how we're all emotional beings. And I started giving her started asking her questions, like leading her down that path. And instead of being interested in where I was kind of trying to take her, she was like, "Are you okay? Is there something wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I have not had that reaction. I have not experienced that reaction, but like it's funny because that goes into my whole issue of like trying to give advice when it's not requested or solicited of me, and it feeds into all that God's trying to teach me about. Theo, you're in an addiction now. Theo, you're in an addiction. You got to look at that addiction. Did they ask you? No. Okay, well, then you can't budge yourself in there. You can't ram your way in there. Don't do that. Don't do that. Wait for an opportunity. If you don't have one, you don't have one. And I'm thinking, like, I've often heard AJ talk about, you're going to be even kept away from opportunities so that you can deal with your issues. Sorry, I'm going to cry right now, but I'm kind of seeing how that can be loving because It's like if you really want to have sex all the time, you know, and you have a whole bunch of people that also want to have sex with you, like that's not going to be the best thing for you, you know. In America, it's like for me, my one of my physical addictions is still eat. I still have the eating addiction. I'm still, you know, still want to eat way too much and bad things. And we just have this whole wide variety selection of foods to eat everywhere at any point, whenever you want. Just go to the restaurant and there's food there. Might take 20 minutes, but it'll come to you eventually. You'll get to eat. So, but it's like if you have a problem, if you're an alcoholic and there's drinks in front of you, that's not good, you know. And if you're surrounded by friends, what they're gonna do is they're gonna take all those drinks away from you. And so with my addiction to giving advice, I think spirits are like, you know, they're like, okay, we're gonna, all right, guys, let's get to work. We got this emotion, giving advice aholic. We got to take away all the people around him that are gonna feed his addiction. Let's get to work, everyone. He's gonna hate it, but we got to do this so he gets into his emotions. It's actually really loving and really kind. So it was really hard to pull back that time when I was like, uh, I'm like, I really want to give advice and I can't. I really want to give advice and I can't. I can't. Oh. and yeah, not saying it's over with. I still probably have this problem, but it was a good lesson to see that, you know, I wanted to give advice and I couldn't because I knew it would have been wrong at that time, and I got to work on that. So yeah. Anyway, that's not the point of this video. The point was to talk about how other people give you advice when you don't ask for it, and how you got to tell them. You have to tell them. It might come down to the point where you got to tell them. And I guess the other part of the video is that I ended up talking about my own addiction in that way. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.